Hi, fashion dolls. Welcome back, TGIF. It is finally Friday, January 5th, and joining me today, our very special guest is an award winning filmmaker, writer, and podcast host from the New York area. And I'm super excited to have him back in the dollhouse with me today as we catch up on what he's been up to in this year of 2024. Joining me, and let's give a warm, hearty welcome to our very special, handsome guest, Andre Joseph. Hopefully, it works this time. If I can get it. We are.
Hey,
And
how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. TGIF, how are you?
I'm doing great today. Happy Friday.
It is such a pleasure to have you back here again. We did our very first interview in last year, 2023. So, what has happened since our very first interview? What has happened now in this year of 2024? How was your Christmas? How was your Thanksgiving? And how did you celebrate? How did you ring in 2024?
I think we had, for the most part, we had as good of a holiday as we could have. Since the last time we spoke, I had a couple of film premieres. My short film Dismissal Time was played at the New York Long Island Film Festival back in October, alongside two music videos that I did for my friend Mylan Lazistan, one called Angelina and another one called Invited. And the dismissal time screening went really well. A lot of good feedback from that. And our two music videos also got a very positive response, so much so we won awards for those. So that was a huge deal for us. And we also had the Urban Action Showcase where we screened two of my action films. One was a G.I. Joe fan film, as well as another short film I did called Marked, where I play a hitman. And those played in the same block, so those actually got a pretty good response as well. And then we released another music video that I did with my friend Milo Lazistan called Sleep Until Noon. That's up on YouTube now on the AJ Epics Productions channel. And we're going to be submitting that to festivals all throughout 2024.
Okay, okay. So going into the new year, we were finally in 2024. How did you celebrate it? How did you ring in 2024? Because I woke up to a lot of text messages from everybody saying, "We made it, sis, we made it." And I see a lot of people coming in, "Hey, hey, hey." See my girlfriend Felicia, I see Alan Yankee, and these were some of the people that texted me when we had New Year's, when the new year got here, January. And we were like, we made it. So what was something that you were manifesting more of for this year of 2020?
Well, first, as far as celebrating, I was in Delaware where my mom lives, and we had a lot of family come over. My aunt, in particular, who just moved down there, not far from where she lives. We all had everybody together. My cousins came down, so we watched a lot of the NFL games and NBA, and watched a couple of movies. Had a very nice dinner. And then we also had another holiday party after Christmas with some of the neighbors in the complex. So that was a very good time. A lot of food, drinks, and dancing. And then, New Year's was pretty much low key for me. My friend that I did the movie The Last Vendetta with, his brother had a couple of us over to watch a few NFL games. And, I just turned 40 last year. So it's one of those times now for me where, you know, probably by 9 p.m. you start feeling like you want to just call it.
Go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, kind of over it. Plus, everybody else was going to other parties. So I went back home. I watched the ball dropped, and then I just went to sleep.
So on December 27th, you posted something and it says, "We finished the story." Is the story complete?
Well, that's actually in reference to The Last Vendetta, and I could tell you we're getting to the halfway mark with the post production. So for the last couple of weeks, we've been working with two visual effects artists that are actually from overseas, and it was a bit of a process because we went through a couple of artists that we were looking at to do a lot of our scene extensions, a couple of the action scenes that needed some special effects. And we went through a lot of reels. We went through a lot of demos of what we were looking for. So we got nailed down to two that currently are working on what we need. And at least I know one of them is nearly done. The other, probably another couple of weeks or so, I should have something that I could see. And of course, a lot of audio work that still has to be done, but we are working on the music as we speak. And I would say expect a trailer pretty soon for it. And we have some ideas of how to put that out.
Mm. So now we're in 2024, and I think we touched on this when we did our first interview. Technology has shifted so much throughout the years as far as filmmaking and so many things. What can you predict in the future for filmmaking for this year of 2024?
That's a good question. I think filmmaking this year, you're probably going to see this AI revolution probably take another step further. Yeah, it is a scary thought, but I do think, with the strikes last year, there have been some amendments to try to, protect the actors and to protect their integrity as far as not having to replicate their likeness without their permission or having to like try to recreate their performances. Even, actors that are no longer with us. I think we could possibly avoid that. But I do expect you're going to see a lot more movies and shows where AI is going to be more involved with like title sequences and small little visual effects that maybe these studios want to save money on,
Yeah.
and it may create some conflict here and there, especially with visual effects companies. But we have to see. I think it's going to start evolving and taking that next step and become a greater discussion than we saw last year.
As you mentioned, AI is scary because you said that there's some actors that we've lost that are no longer here. Like, I'm a big Robin Williams fan.
Mm.
I love Mrs. Doubtfire. That's one of my favorite movies. I love Flubber, but he's no longer here. So it's scary to know that the actor is no longer here and they can easily take parts of someone's voice and use it in something. And that's the scary part, the technology aspect, because sometimes as creators, as filmmakers, how can we protect that from happening when it's our vision?
Good question. I think that a lot of it comes down to, first of all, I mean, for any of those actors, they have their estates. So the estates would have the say on
Yeah,
whether or not their actors like this could be used in something. Like I don't know, like the Flash with Ezra Miller. They, spoiler alert, they have an ending where the whole multiverse is kind of colliding on itself, and one of the universes has Christopher Reeve's Superman in there. And I remember in the theater like going crazy over it in a good way, but at the same time I could kind of see the danger in that. Like all of a sudden somebody
yeah.
might turn, can we do a new Superman movie with Christopher Reeve in it and just hire some actor who sounds like him and replicate his voice? I mean, that's a scary thought to think about. And that was kind of done with Star Wars with Carrie Fisher, the last one that
Yeah.
came out. And I had very awkward feelings about it. So I think the best thing that has to happen is, yeah, the states have to be involved. And you also have to just strengthen those protections through the unions and make sure if you are going to do this sort of thing, make sure that money goes to their estates, because it's not right if the studios are going ahead and just doing this stuff without their permission, without the family's permission.
And then you're using someone's likeness. I give you an example. We all know the wax museum, the Madame Tussauds Max, the wax museum. Say for instance, okay, um, you've got an artist and they're taking someone's image and they're using it for their likeness. That's a thing. So make sure that you are protecting your likeness. Make sure that you are protecting your voice, your everything. And this is difficult for a lot of voiceover actors as well too, with someone using your voice and being able to use your voice and you're not getting anything for it. So that is a thing in 2024. Now, in the aspect you've mentioned, I know you're big on horror and you're big on action as well too. What can you predict in the future for Marvel? Because I was, shout outs to Kwame Speaks. They were having this conversation on their platform, Pyro Network. Make sure you guys head on over and subscribe. And the conversation was about the Marvelverse and what can we expect in the future for the Marvelverse. What can you expect in the future as a filmmaker and a writer and a producer for action, for superhero films? What can you predict in the future? Because they were saying, Kwame and his co-host, they were saying that there's something extraordinary coming as it pertains to Marvel. So what can you predict for this year, 2024, as it pertains to action?
Well, on the Marvel front, you're definitely going to see a slowdown in content as
Yeah.
we've already seen a number of movies that were already shot that have been pushed off to next year because there's a lot of retooling with the storylines and certain sequences are not working to the quality that we always expect of Marvel. And I want to believe that they're listening to, I'm not saying like a certain segment of the fans, but just in general, they know that at this point the audience is kind of growing up. Like my friends' kids are now like in their 20s. Like they were kids when Iron Man came out, and now they're at the point where it's like they've moved on to other stuff. And so what has to happen, and what I do predict will happen in terms of Marvel, is you're going to see the MCU grow up a little bit and become a little bit more mature. You'll see that with Deadpool 3 because that's going to be their first R-rated picture in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This upcoming show Echo has a TVMA rating, so you can expect that to be very brutal, like the Daredevil series that was on Netflix. So I think they're going to kind of like maybe tone down the comedic aspects of it, put back some quality into the work, and you probably may also see more talented filmmakers get involved. And not to disrespect anybody that's come before, but there are some with some of the recent films where you could tell you have these indie filmmakers that when they go into a big studio movie, they're completely out of their depth when you have to do a big budget picture with a lot of special effects and big name stars. I think they're going to go back to more experienced filmmakers like the Sam Raimis and, Ryan Coogler's. They're going to go back to those guys that know what they're doing and they're going to be hands on and not, oh, they just bring the director to direct the actors and then let the special effects company do the special effects. No, you have to have somebody that really is passionate that they're going to put everything into that work. And with action movies, I think you could expect a little bit more of the same, but we got some urban stuff coming up that I'm excited about. One is the new Bad Boys movie, which they went back into production, so we should be getting that in the summer. And one I'm really excited for is the new Beverly Hills Cop because I'm a huge Murphy fan, and seeing that trailer, like I was worried it was going to be silly and dumb, but this feels like what I grew up with and has an edge to it. So that has me pumped.
Um, a lot of things are getting a lot of nuance, a lot of remakes, and it's not the same as it was then when that time it was made. I mean, it was still a classic then, but this time it's just turned up a little bit. So, like you said, as it pertains to the Marvel verse, a lot of people grew up on Superman. They grew up on Spider-Man. I know one of mine is Wonder Woman. Uh, we're seeing the shift happen in the Marvel verse. So I definitely see things are slowing down for Marvel. And like you said, that audience, that base is starting to grow up and realize, like, hey, I'm grown up now, but they're doing it more so to the adults, to appeal to the adults, to the grown folks. So I see the shift
I
happening 100%.
comparison that I put in mind the other day. It's like look at New Edition as a group. Their music in the beginning was very much bubblegum pop, and that
Yeah,
appealed to a wide audience. But at some point, you become teenagers. It's like you can't keep doing the same like Candy Girl type of stuff. So they did the Heartbreak album, and now you're doing like really like grounded, earthier songs like "Can You Stand the Rain" and "Boys to Men," and that pretty much took them off from there to a whole new level. So it's like anything; it has to mature itself.
yeah,
You don't lose the audience overboard with it, but just let it grow up a little bit with that audience. And I think you'll see some evolution in the storytelling, in the direction, and even in the performances.
absolutely. And I give you an example. One of my favorite actresses is Kiki Palmer. We know her as Aquila and the Bee. She's went on to evolve and do so many things with her career. And we now see her as a mom, as a woman. So maturity is all about maturity. You can't stay in the same place. And even with me, when I started this platform, I was very young. I was very cocky. I had a blonde mohawk. Yes, y'all, I had a blonde mohawk. Shout outs to my girlfriend, my stylist, Ronnie. She hooked me up with that, and we both went to beauty school together. And that was my thing. But I said, as the years have progressed, I needed to change up my look. I don't like to stay the same. This week, I've had blonde all this week. Now, today, I said I wanted to do black. And I see you guys just like, wow. It's something about black. It makes my eyes stand out. They're brown. My eye have brown eyes. And I wanted to do something different, something more mature. Now that I'm in my 30s, I'm a woman now, so I see things differently. Not the way I was when I first started. When I first started, it was right after high school.
Mhm.
So now, me being in my womanhood, I'm embracing my sensuality, I'm embracing my femininity. Whereas before, I was just like, okay, just give me a pantsuit. Now you're seeing me wear gowns and come out in couture creations and all sorts of stuff. So you got to evolve with the times. You can't stay in that same place. And shout outs to Marcos Luis, who is the host of One Mic Night podcast. Make sure you guys go and check out and subscribe to his channel. Now, we're seeing the shift with actors because I wanted to talk to you about this because I'm seeing the conversation. We're seeing the clip with Taraji. How do you feel as a black man, as a filmmaker, as a director, that actors and filmmakers of color are not getting equal or fair pay? And it was other people like Terrence Howard, of course, Monique, so many that are actors and actresses of color that have spoken out on not getting equal pay. And that was something that Marcos touched on his platform as well too. So for you, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a very intense situation because I feel like, after everything that we've been through in the last couple of years, where, really this call to action to have more Black voices, Black faces on screen in movies and television and behind the scenes. Like, on one hand, you feel like things are pushing forward, things are making progress, but there's still those things behind the scenes that are still not changing. Yeah, it's easy for a studio or network to check the boxes and make it seem like, oh, we're being progressive, we're doing great. But you're not giving them all the resources to be at the level of a Christopher Nolan as a director, or for actors like a Taraji P. Henson. Like, she's done such great work. I love her in Hidden Figures. Like, to me, I want to see her do more of that, because that to me is what I think would get her an Oscar one day and should put her on the A list. But yet, she's, for whatever reason, it's like either those parts are not coming, or when those parts do come, yeah, they're being underrepresented financially, and I don't think that's right. There's too much good talent out there that makes people feel when they watch their work that they shouldn't just be like getting scraps. I think that's what the strike was also about too, was really fighting for some kind of reparation for doing all this work and not getting enough on the back end. Like, you're getting the amount of what you get paying for a McDonald's meal. And so, yeah, I'm glad Taraji spoke up about it, because it is the God's honest truth that there are so many great talents out there, and they're doing these big tent poles, these big TV shows, but they should be getting just as much as a major white actor like a Ryan Gosling or Margot Robbie. And they're getting all these offers, all these big franchises, but yet, so and so, like people that look like us are getting, less than $1 million possibly, unless you're Denzel Washington. If you're at that elite level, you're a proven draw. There's just too much talent out there to waste.
Absolutely. And not only that, but I was reading this article on Essence Magazine, and they talked about how much Tracy Ellis Ross and Anthony Anderson make on an episode of Blackish compared to their non-black counterparts. They get more. So it has been an issue in Hollywood. I've had male co-hosts on this platform. I've had 4 male co-hosts, and we know, even with my platform not being on an internet on a national level where you see it on TV every day, I do it here on the gram. I'm still not getting those residuals as my male counterparts are. With me being a black woman in this business. And that Gabrielle Union even spoke about it. So many women, black women predominantly, have spoken about not being paid fairly. And Marcos asked a question. He says, why do you think they're not getting the same amount of money?
I think it comes down to, this is the same thing I think in the music industry as well, that if you're a black actor or a black filmmaker, that's what they could do as black filmmaker, black actor, not actor slash filmmaker, and you're at the same level as those non minority actors who they could put their face in a movie that's released in Japan and it's guaranteed to make money. Yes, Kevin Hart and any other talent that we see as a big star can do well here, but because maybe their movies don't make the same amount of money overseas, that kind of brings their value down when it comes to the studios and how they perceive those actors. It's still a political game, regardless of, the diversity and inclusion that they try to push. Um, you know, you think about it recently with the Little Mermaid remake
Um,
with Halle Bailey. Again, that created a lot of controversy, as we know. But while that movie made a lot of money here, it did struggle overseas. And to make it worse, they tried to whitewash her on the posters overseas. So I'm kind of wondering, again, there's that perception that these studios have where, okay, it's fine to maybe make it acceptable here, but then anywhere else that's not the United States, there's still like a lot of work we have to do. And unfortunately, I think that's how they perceive it. Even Denzel has had that issue as well, where sometimes um, these studios think, okay, yeah, he's great because he's won an Oscar. He's a fantastic actor. Um, and yet they still question how they do in Japan, in China, in London, where they're not as acceptable. And of course, I just see this question now about is marketing to blame or are they putting alignment to it? Yeah, marketing is 100% the reason to blame because of the fact that they think they have to cater to a minority audience. They're not trying to cater to the wider audience that might like this movie just as much as the black audience does. So there is that perception. And we thought maybe Black Panther was going to change that, but I haven't seen enough of that to really make that a valid argument. It's just we're still taking 2 steps forward and 2 steps back is the way I see it.
Absolutely. And you've mentioned the music industry. I posted, and you guys, I know people were wondering, why did you post that clip to your stories? You guys know that I'm a big fan of TLC. I love TLC. Left Eye is my favorite out of the group. I like T-Boz too. I like them all. They're all beautiful. But Left Eye was on something when she broke down the numbers of how much you're supposed to have in regards to album sales. Now, that happens in the industry, in the business as well too. You're just like, where is my money going? Why am I not getting my money? Why am I not getting my residuals? Now you can have a song and they put your song in a commercial and you're not seeing the benefit of it. This happens to artists in the music industry as well too. And it's all about making sure that you have the right marketing team, as Marcos mentioned in the comments. Now, I'm happy with the people that I have behind me because I put my own stuff out there. Being independent, you do it on your own. You're responsible for everything. If anything else falls on you. And so far, it's been perfect because I make sure that I post, I go back and I watch the attraction, the engagement. That's what it's all about. But in regards to marketing, yes, they kind of are to blame because it's just like, who are you trying to cater to? I mean, you can't just cater to one specific audience because everybody likes this. Everybody likes the franchise. So you have to be inclusive in whatever it is, whatever product that you're trying to get out there to appeal to the people. If new television shows, films, whatever, it's all about making sure that you have a great marketing strategy and a great team behind you 100%. And as it pertains to the music industry, make sure that you have someone that is, because sometimes there's nobody there to tell you, that people will try to steal. So just be careful with that. But Left Eye was on something when she broke that down about how much you're supposed to make. And then she said, well, what am I supposed to pay my bills with? That made me instantly think about Billy Porter. When Billy Porter says, I only get this amount of cents for an episode of Pools. So why is it that Black actors, Black actresses, Black filmmakers are not seeing the benefits of a Steven Spielberg or a Ryan Gosling? That is the question.
Yeah, I think that it comes to a number of factors. I mean, especially when it comes to music as well. It's the fact that we kind of like get caught up in the star factor of it, feeling like that kid in the candy
Mm.
store when they make you all these promises and we're going to have this deal, this sponsorship, this and that. And, if you don't have the representation, you don't know what contracts you're signing unless you have a good lawyer that looks at all the dotted paperwork. And you may think, okay, this looks good, but you might just make decisions that you don't realize this is coming out of your pocket. Like we saw, like with the movie Straight Outta Compton, with what happened with Eazy-E, where he had that whole record deal bringing NWA to the forefront and thinking they were making all this money, but he's signing all these checks like nothing, not realizing, wait a minute, I'm like having to sell weed out of my house and I can't afford my house. Why is this happening? He's getting ripped off. And Marcos is saying right now, and this is true, ownership is totally key. And I think that's why you see so many filmmakers, try to get more involved behind the scenes as producers or get jobs in commercials and music videos, because you're not guaranteed any kind of back end deal on these big projects. I've talked to filmmakers on my own show who've done hit films, but they don't have any ownership of them. And they're struggling, people who still want to make movies and are not even in the system anymore because they didn't make the right decisions or what Hollywood expects them to be, because when they put everybody in a box, that's all they want them to do. So yeah, I think so many filmmakers just, I've always said, you could learn everything about the basics of production, or if you're an actor, to learn all the skills and craft to try to go out auditions and land the part. But there's the business side of it that we don't really get told much about. We're not well taught on that we have to master. And I do honestly believe, I think the industry is afraid to teach us those things because they don't want that progression. And that's why I do believe, and somebody said this at a festival recently, that Hollywood is this giant bubble where they're afraid to bring people in, because when you bring one person in, somebody's got to go out. And so that's basically the entertainment business in a nutshell. And they want to protect their bubble as much as possible. So that's why they could go and say, hey, we're going to, include and put, people of color, we're going to represent the way the world is. But yet, there's this thing under the sugar-coated frosting of the cake that we don't see, and we need to pull that back to really know what we need to do if we want to take back our stories. And I think that's where Tyler Perry has excelled, because he said, I'm going to do my own thing, I'm going to build my own brand, I'm going to build my own studio, and look where he is today, pumping out shows left and right, still making movies, and he has his base and he makes money and he does well with it, and he's an influencer. That to me is how you make progress, is when you take that ownership and control. And I do agree with Marcos as well. We need the distribution, we need the marketing, we need all those resources in business to get our work out there, and not always rely on these people who think they know what the audience wants, because you don't know. You don't go on the street, like people who live in Hollywood think they know just from a test screening, or having maybe a couple of people in a suburban area listen to somebody's song and think it's either good or bad. Really, go into middle America, go into the suburbs of New York or South Carolina, North Carolina, and see what people are listening to or what they're watching. And there's a huge difference. So that's the stuff that we have to master here if we want to be successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the problem on the film. You've heard about so many artists having to go back and re-record their albums. It goes back to what Marco said. Ownership. Own the rights to your music. Prince, I'm naming so many of my favorite artists. Prince was genius on that. He didn't, I don't think he started his own record label, which was New Power, New Power Generation, one of those. But he started his own label and started making his own music up under his own label, had his artists. Shaka Khan was one of his, all of that. So it's all about creating a strategy. And I'm pretty sure he has music that is in the vault. It won't get released because his estate is making sure that it doesn't get released. So I'm pretty sure of that. So he was very keen on making sure that he owned the rights to his music. And that would be my suggestion to anybody out here that is looking to get into the music business, is own the rights to your music, own your masters. I told you guys when I did my interview with Dame Smith last year, 2023, I talked about Sister Nancy. Um, you guys know what happened. They put her song in a commercial and she didn't get anything for it. No residuals, nothing. She had no idea. So it's pretty messed up what they did to her. So making sure that you are owning the rights to your music is key. Now let me go through and read some of you guys' comments. Exactly. We question who is greenlighting those projects. Are we even at the table? No. And that's where it comes. Hey girl, I see my girl Stephanie is in here and she's gonna be coming on the show this month. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. We're gonna be catching up on that for her company, Concrete Rose, with her partner Ty Asia. So I'm excited. We're gonna get into a little girl talk. Hi Madeline, amazing photographer for our magazine, Original Magazine UK. You guys know that I'm one of the fashion writers for Original Magazine UK. And my best friend, my girl Stephanie, is here. So I see a lot of my friends and family and everybody watching. I appreciate it. We are talking about the the lack of inclusion for Black actors being paid what they are worth in Hollywood. That is the topic of conversation because this sparked online. Michael Baisden today just posted, and he asked a question. He put up like this. It was genius. One picture of Taraji on one side and how much she's getting paid, and he really broke it down. And then another actress that is non-Black on the other side and broke down how much she makes. So if you guys haven't seen it, make sure you guys go and check it out. Michael Daisden posted it. And I said, yeah, that's about accurate. That's how much Black actors and actresses would get for taping a scene. I mean, if you go back and you look at how much, again, Tracy Ellis Ross and Anthony Anderson makes on an episode of Blackish compared to their white counterparts. Even Terrence Howard spoke about it. So it's not just happening to Black women, but it's predominantly Black women, but it's Black actors all over the spectrum as well too. So yeah, we got to continue to work on this and make sure that actors across the board, as well as musicians, singers, songwriters, get their residuals as well too for writing their songs and making their music. That is a thing because everybody deserves equality, and as it pertains to that, because if a white actor can make one thing, a Black actor should be able to make the same amount. So
Absolutely.
yeah. But again, there's a lot of racism in the industry, and that ties into that as well too. It's really deep. So those are a few things. Now, your podcast, you talked about your podcast, and we have Marcos here with his podcast, Unfinished Business.
Mhm.
What can we expect for this year, 2024, for your podcast, Unfinished Business?
Well, myself and Jeff Gallishaw, we're going to continue to tackle all the latest releases, give our thoughts on the industry, latest trailers. We just taped an episode this morning. We did like our post-holiday special, so we talk about random conversations of what is considered a Christmas movie. So obviously, everybody with the debate about Die Hard, which I do believe is a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Other films that may not always be boxed in as one, but have those elements of what would be considered a Christmas movie. So we talk about that. We just released an episode with director Gary Sherman of Poltergeist 3, and that was a very fun interview to do, and a lot of good insight about his work and some interesting documentary work that he has coming up. So I'm really excited on that. And we also I'm not going to say who we have, but we do have another guest coming on soon, who is also a director, and he did one of our favorite movies from the 80s, and we're going to be interviewing him next week, and I can't wait because I got some burning questions for this guy.
So make sure you guys tune in to Unfinished Business. And I love you too, girl. I see my other best friend, my sister Felicia. My girls are here, Stephanie and Felicia. And I love you too. Make sure you text me. We was just texting before the show. We always keep in touch. But this is amazing. And yes, Die Hard is a Christmas movie because that debate took the internet by a whirlwind. Like people were literally debating this. And it's a classic film. So yes, it is a Christmas film. But there are some films that have an element where it's just like this action. But yeah, if it's filmed during this time, it's a Christmas film and it's released this time. as well too. It's a Christmas film. So it's been a whole debate about that. So you've got your podcast, you have your film coming out. It's going to be in post production pretty soon. So what's next in the future of this year, 2020?
Well, I got a couple of things that I'm still in the early works with. So, my short film Marked, we're going to try to do that as a feature film at some point. The script is being worked on as we speak. And we already have some of the actors from the short film that are going to be involved in that. So I'm really excited to do that one. We have this Western called American Gunslingers, which we may finally start to come back around to. We were supposed to do it before the pandemic. But we now might do it as a series instead of a feature film because there's just more opportunity to expand the story and to kind of take our time with it, not have to tackle the entire thing at once because cost and time, it's very involved. So we want to be able to get it right. And I have some other projects in the works that I'm not ready to announce yet, but they're being worked on as we speak. And I'm going to be spending a lot of these next couple of months really trying to master my business skills. I'm working with a coach now, and I'm trying to find some ways to improve my presentation in terms of my website, how to build my social media following. And particularly with my short film Dismissal Time, we've been trying for a while to get some play in some schools and also to figure out what's the right way of putting this movie out publicly, not just like dump it on YouTube. So I'm going to be working with her with a pretty extensive release plan for that and try to take it even further so we can expand on that story in the future because there's still a lot of possibilities with that one that I really want to explore. So I think these next couple of months, I see this, like I manifest this year as a very crucial year for me in terms of my career and where I want to go, and really trying to get to a place of everything we just talked about now, just learning how to master this business so I could have ownership. I could, have a better handle on distribution and see some return from it. And at the same time, try to give back to the next generation through my teaching and through doing shows like yours where I could share my knowledge of what I know about the business in the hopes to inspire somebody else who is trying to find their way and to understand what it takes to be a success. I don't want to say like, hey, I'm making millions of dollars and I'm at that level, but
Right.
I think I've done enough to kind of have a good sense of where you could go if you could cut past the noise and just focus on putting your full 100% into your passion and seeing the results come out of that. And it's extraordinary when it works out.
And Marcos says, Marcos, yes, he is an actor. He did Love Jones with Nia
Nice.
Long and Lorenz Tate, and that is a cult classic film. If you love love stories like myself, then definitely go check out Marcos in that one. And I've had Marcos on the show as well too. We did an interview together, and that was one of my favorites for the year 2023. So I'm sensing he wants to collaborate with you. What would you say if Marcos wants to work with Andre Joseph on one of his projects? What would you say?
Well, let's connect. If you follow me right now on Instagram, just send me a DM and we'll talk.
Yes. All right, Fashion Dolls, do we have any questions for myself or Andre? This was a great conversation and we needed this dialogue because it's so much going on in Hollywood right now as it pertains to Black actors not getting equal pay. So I'm going to keep screaming it to the mountaintops until there is some change happening. I'm making sure that all of my colleagues, all of my counterparts also receive pay as the non-Black counterparts as well too. So fair pay across the board, across the spectrum for everybody. And Marco says he sent you a
Cool.
message.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Do we have any final questions or thoughts for myself, Fashion Dolls? And Marco says, great and necessary conversation. Thank you both. I had to, because when I seen the clip of Taraji, it broke my heart. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a big Taraji P. Henson fan. I use her hair products and her body care. And to see this happen to her, I said, wait, it kind of took me back to when Monique started speaking about it, about the Parkers and how she encounters Vaughn are both you know, in the talks of going at it with Viacom. Like these networks are not paying black actors, black entertainment, what they are due. And just broke my heart, like to see her say, I want to walk away from the industry. She's an actress, amazing personality. Nothing bad in the news about her, anything. But to see that clip, that triggered as a black woman because I already know that I'm not going to receive the same pay as Andre or Marcos because that's just how the industry is. It's racist. It's misogynistic.
And I want to say something else too, Stevie. Another example is Jeffrey Owens from the Cosby Show. That
Had him on too, yeah.
Yeah, years ago when they photographed him working at Trader Joe's and seeing TMZ and all these sites making fun of him, and that upset me just as much as what Taraji said because okay, yeah, he was on one of the biggest shows for me growing up, and okay, so he's not a multi-million dollar actor, and he's trying to support himself doing a day job.
Yeah.
He's still acting, he's still doing theater, and he takes pride in what he does to make ends meet. We should not be putting people down for taking a day job to fulfill their passion. And I think that's the lesson that has to be learned. You know what? Screw these media folks who think that they could just put us down because we have to work just as hard, more harder than, an actor that's white who has more success and has to be pampered by people. You know what? I'd rather be a Jeffrey Owens at the end of the day if I want to maintain my integrity and have success in my own definition of success.
Absolutely. And that happens to people in the business. You're not gonna you're gonna have your high moments. It's like you said,
Yeah.
when you're at your prime. I think it was Marcos or you that said it in the comments. When you're at your prime, you're at your prime. And I've noticed that even in the fashion world, if you're a model, they want young, they want youthful, they want beautiful. Whereas if you get up in age, you're my age, you're 30 or 50 or even older, they say no, you got to stop. You're not what we're looking for. Whereas now, thank God, times have completely changed to the point where they are hiring models that are in their 50s and in their 70s. I'm a big Grace Jones fan, and I think she is awesome. She
Yeah.
is. I have a picture of her. You guys look at my backdrop, and I framed it. It was her Essence cover. Uh, I think she's like in her what 70s. I'm not sure, but I
80.
know that she is 80,
Oh,
still
almost.
modeling,
Yeah. Still doing it.
still
Still.
modeling. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm cutting you off.
I'm just saying, she still looks great for her age.
Yes, and ageism is a thing in this business. So it's like when you are in your 20s or in your teen years, they want you. You're young, you're youthful. But when you get up in age, if you're 50 or even older, it even happens with actors as well too. But in the fashion world, it's even worse because it's like, okay, you have a certain look. We want young, we want beautiful, we want vibrant. But what about mature and elegant? Yeah, I mean, I've seen models, Mae Musk, who's Elon Musk's mom. I mean, she's modeling gray hair and all. So I mean, it goes to show you in this business, they discard of you when they feel as though you're no longer a use to them. You're no longer youthful. Pay discrepancy has always been there for IUS, right? Yeah, that's how the business is. So in order for people to keep that longevity, I say keep going. Keep going. Don't give up. It's never too late to go after your dreams. And that ties into today's final thought, which comes from Tracy Ellis Ross. She says, I am learning every day to allow the space between where I am and where I want to be to inspire me and not terrify me. Change can be scary for anybody through a career change or anything. You could, like I said, you have your highs and lows in the entertainment business. You could be high one day, and then the next thing you know, you could be at the lowest point of your career. Like, how did I get here? Why am I doing this? But people have to make ends meet, especially the way the economy is right now. It's difficult for everybody. We're seeing inflation. We're seeing things go up. People are having to cut costs. I'm not afraid to say that I use coupons. I'm trying to be frugal over here. And that's a lot of people. Be frugal in your approach. Not everybody can spend lavishly like a I love her to death. I use all of her perfumes. Paris Hilton, if you're on her level where you can spend lavishly. But to the people out there that are just losing faith and not sure of themselves, you are enough. You are enough and you are worthy. And I posted a quote this morning, and I don't know if you guys seen it, where I said that the ground that we stand on, or something to that extent. I'm gonna go read that quote too, and then we are going to wrap up. If you guys have any questions, Fashion Dolls, while I'm waiting on that quote. Yes, the quote says, "The ground I am on is holy ground. The ground I am on is successful ground. So walk every day into your purpose, for the greater, for the better." Now, to anybody out there who's shaming people who were in the entertainment business and they're no longer in the entertainment business because something has happened, you have to look back at yourself and be like, why am I taking pictures of this person? Why am I doing this? When this person is doing the same thing that you're doing, and that's trying to survive. And that's what a lot of people are trying to do right now with the way the economy is. We got election. Child, don't even get me started
Oh yeah,
on that.
I
We
know.
got a election rolling around the corner, and I'm trying so hard not to have anxiety. I know 2020 election sent my anxiety through the roof. Andre, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I was on edge. I had to literally watch my phone, watch the TV to see, okay, is he gonna win? Is he gonna get it? It was too close to call. So I mean, brace yourself for these next few months, you guys. I'm telling you, Mercury in retrograde is in full effect for Aquarius is out here. So you're going to see some crazy things happen these next few couple of weeks. So that is today's final thought. Not to allow things to terrify you. Change can be scary, but change is also beautiful in the end result. And trust me, I know this all too well. I lost my previous page. I had to start all over. Starting over, starting in the new year is a beautiful thing. Literally going into the new year is like hitting that reset button on your clock and having to restart all over again. There's nothing wrong with beginning again. And that's the final thought, Fashion Dolls. So, do we have any final thoughts, Fashion Dolls, for myself or Andre? Andre, always a pleasure to chat with you, and I would love to have you back on again in the future. And while we're waiting, what are some gems or words of wisdom that you would like to take for people to take away for this year, 2020?
My gem is simply just feel free, be free. Don't let, like you were just saying before, not to let the noise and all the craziness that's out there get the best of you and ruin your day. Just when you feel like you're at your lowest, always remember you can reach back to the light. You can still make it work so you can get to the next day. And, just because you have one bad moment doesn't define the rest of your life. Just keep.
Absolutely. Now, I see we don't have any final thoughts. Where can everyone follow you and check out your podcast, Unfinished Business?
Well, you can find Unfinished Business Television on YouTube. It's under my friend's page, Unfinished B1. And you can see all my stuff. If you actually go on my Instagram, you can just go to my link tree, linktree/AJEPYX. That has all of my links to my films, my website, all my social media accounts. And if you want to check out Sleep Until Noon, my music video, as well as some of my other previous works, you can go on YouTube at AJEPYX Productions 1, and everything should be right there for you guys to see. And please like and subscribe too.
And hit that bell so you'll be notified when new episodes are uploaded. Same for my channel as well, too. Head on over and subscribe to Style by Stevie Daytime. A very special thank you to Marcos Luis, who's the host of One Mic Night podcast. Marcos, I'm coming on your show. I know his work schedule is so heavy. I was supposed to be on there, but we're going to get that set up. I'm going to be going on One Mic Night podcast for my exclusive interview because I have Marcos on. So definitely going on there. Joining me next week, Fashion Dolls, we have Justin M. Goodwin, and we are going all the way to Nigeria with Collins Ijaki. He's going to be joining me Friday. So make sure you guys tune in next week, and the lineup will be up. And vote for your favorite look of the week. We had 3 looks, and this is premiere week. So to be here with my 18th season is amazing. Thank you guys so much for your love and support. It's been fabulous this week. Amazing guests, Great chemistry, great interviews. Make sure you guys are following, and this interview will be saved here on IGTV, so you can go back and watch the replay. And you guys can check it out on YouTube as well too. And I love you all, and you guys have a safe and fabulous weekend going into 2024, first of this week. And I will see you guys next week. Talk to you later. Take care, everyone.